Chair. Yeah.
It's a new bit. I think we're okay.
Okay. Well, welcome this evening to fellow councillors, council officers, and members of the public, and those indeed who may be watching on the internet. Okay, it's 7 o'clock and I start the meeting. So, you've already started the recording, obviously, and the mic is on.
Yep.
So the first item on the agenda is public participation. If anyone wishes to ask a question of this committee, please raise their hand and the chair I will recognise them. If it's one member of the public, Mr. Barnes, there is a maximum of 15 minutes allowed before the substantive agenda starts, so contributors are reminded this is not an opportunity to debate, it's to put forward a question regarding items on the agenda. And I reserve the right to suggest a written answer to your question outside this meeting, if I think necessarily officers do indeed. So, Mr. Barnes, I believe you do have a question.
My name is, as we don't know, Alan Barnes from Martin's Place. I'd just like to raise an issue with regard to an item on the agenda of St Margaret's Loop. Okay. As far as I can see from previous council meeting minutes, the council does not appear to have carried out a full detailed cost associated with construction, landscaping and ongoing maintenance project. With the bridge ownership costs of £600,000, which is to be borne by, or potentially borne by, West Sussex Council, one can imagine the total cost to taxpayers for the project to be in the order of £1 million. Can this new committee give some assurances that a proper cost benefit analysis of the project, including ongoing maintenance, is carried out before any final commitment is made to the project?
Well, thank you, Mr. Barnes. I'm the new chairman of this committee, so I must admit I'm not fully up to speed with what's happened over the last few years. I was previously chairman up until 2019. It's obviously on the agenda late, will be debated, but Town Clerk, is there anything we wish to?
I can answer the question, Chair, absolutely. Well, the stage we're at now, which it does say in the papers, is that we are just about to start the process of the drawing up of the scheme. Part of the drawing up of the scheme is the viability. So is the scheme viable? So are we able to put it in on the costs that we've got, having determined what we think we're going to cost? Of course, we're really hoping it's going to cost nothing and be a cost neutral construction. But I suspect, and everyone probably expects, that we're going to end up going to put some money in. But the intention is that because there will be some building up of the loop, that will be a cost, an income with regards to offsetting the costs. So that's the stage we're now at, is draw up the scheme, see what the viability is, and if it's a viable scheme, then it will proceed, but that has to come back to the committee first. So the answer to your question is absolutely, there will be that scheme, and obviously as part of all that will be the extras, which are not going to be part of that viability, and what is expected to be ongoing maintenance. So that at the point in time of saying yes or no, the committee are 100% clear what the cost is going to be.
I mean, the big concern is you've got two bridges involved in the project, and as Bluebell Railway will tell you, the maintenance of bridges is very expensive, and insurance and all sorts of things that are regard to bridges, can be quite a major ongoing expense. And it's not just the cost of the project; it's the ongoing maintenance over the years. Bluebell can handle that because they've got lots of sort of bridge staff and volunteers, etc. But the council doesn't have that, and they need to bring in specialist contractors and various other things like that.
Well,
and that is a big worry.
What I'd say is it's been a challenging process to get this far. It's something we all wanted to do. Cost is something all of us are acutely aware of. I'd have to say the council, the town clerk, previous leader, Mrs. Farron, and previous committee chairman have resisted pressure put onto this council of buying the land. lower pathways, so cost is a key issue, we've resisted that because of going forward and potential remedial work, is that clear?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, if there's no other questions, I think we'll move on to the substantive agenda. Right,
Thanks.
Yeah.
Do you want me to close the door?
yeah, if you feel.
You're welcome to stay home.
No,
Okay.
got a wife that's going to go swimming.
We're connecting, do I want the door shut or open?
Do you want the door shut?
It will close it, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Much appreciated.
Yes, or no?
We'll leave it open.
Leave it.
I can close it. I can close it. I shouldn't hear you. I shall defer to. So moving on now to. Moving on to item 1, apologies for absence. Do we continue?
Yeah, we've had apologies from councillor Vidler, who had a personal commitment, and also councillor Odie, who had a marital commitment.
Just note those. Can we note those?
Noted,
Thank you very much. Item 2, the declarations of interest. Do we have anything new to add? We don't have those. So now, item 3 on the town.
Okay.
The minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of March and the 30th of May. I will propose those for accuracy. Second for that.
I'll second that.
Thank you, councillor Hughes. Are there any comments before asking to be signed? There are none. I shall all in favour. Thank you very much. Sorry. Moving on to chairman's announcements. I have 2. First of all, the East Grinstead Community Bonfire are to use Eastport Car Park on the 19th of October, and there is no charge for this. The lines will be gone, so this has been approved for use, although there is no fee payable to the. Secondly, you may have seen that the Waymark, which was part of Mid Sussex S106 Artra project, has been opened at the railway station. The opening of the trail in Anstey was at the weekend to show the trails and the walking routes that this Waymark is part of. And if you do have time, I do suggest you go and have a look.
Chair, before you move on, can I just clarify, the lines who will be gone are the lines for using the building for the health testing during the day?
Yes.
Confused about lines were gone.
Yeah, because they're here several times, yeah. So, thank you. Okay. So, item 5, we move on. Unless there's any other questions from you? No. Item 5, it's the tourism report. That's obviously being circulated. We have Alice here. There's no decisions, and obviously there is an appendix which has been issued delayed. We apologise for that. And that was sent to Mid Sussex on the tourism activity this year. Before I ask for any questions from the committee, I think just looking through the report, it's very good to see the amount of the town council put on over the last 12 months, 18 months actually, and the next 12 months are going to prove to be very similar and very busy. So well done to the team. Secondly, well done to the team for securing the sponsorship again, and that really is very helpful to fund these and other events that we do hold. And also, I do notice that merchant sales continue to take place. So, moving over to committee, are there any questions or comments? Councilman.
Thank you. I'm a regular attender at Sunnyside Barn. Well, now they're having trouble with the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anything we can do, but it's very in and out.
Okay, they haven't fed that back to us, which is a bit of a shame, otherwise we'd look straight into that for them, so I'll get into that tomorrow morning.
That's all.
Okay, we'll go to Councillor Barron.
Thank you. Just the Christmas markets, we've obviously got a date for it. What plans and what have we secured so far for the event? Obviously, we approved it quite early, so we'd hopefully get in before other people,
Yeah.
for a Christmas event. How are we doing with the Christmas market?
I've got that on the events agenda
Oh,
later
right.
on.
Sorry.
It's good to raise it,
Sure,
but
fine.
we'll discuss that.
I was looking at the event section, sorry.
Don't. Councillor Hughes.
Sorry.
Alice. So yeah, really good news that we've secured the sponsorship again. It was a question that I asked at the first Eastport Live because I think everyone missed their free water. Is the intention that South East Water are present at the next couple of Eastport Live, and are they going to be gifting water on a hot?
So they aren't able to attend the next one, July either. They will be attending August, but that will be to hand out water saving devices. They've decided to move away from handing out bottled water because they feel that it's not representing what they do as a tap water drinking company. They don't want to be involved with handing out water, and they might be able to get some water for the event if we ask them that it's really needed, but it's not their plan.
Yeah, you're quite right, Councillor Hughes, that was raised with me by one or two.
I know it was missed at the event, especially when it's warm and people are wanting water. Yeah.
Can I add that, Chair? Another reason that I think South East Water aren't that keen is because they're handing out bits of plastic.
Yeah.
See, that's not something they really want to be
Yeah. That's
associated with, so there is that side of it. Water is available at bar, previously I know we're busy.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. But that is something that is always available in the interested as well. Water is available.
I completely understand single-use plastic. I think what we're seeing increase in the festivals and that, the water. But some, that people would then ready to fill water and just come on. But I think definitely, let's hope summer arrives and it's even hotter for the next two. There were people obviously getting a bit dehydrated on. So,
Yeah, we did do a message, but perhaps we need to do more messaging to people to bring their bottles of water, when previously they probably didn't.
To be fair, I don't think we expect it to be quite as hot as it actually was.
Yeah,
The first
it's actually Dory.
Yes.
Are there any other comments from or questions? I see none, so the report is for noting. Can I ask committee to note that?
Noted.
Thank you very much. Moving to item 6, that's the Estates and Civic Pride report. Obviously, we have Alison here asking questions, but I'll just bring your attention to the following points. Firstly, on page 3, there is a reference to the Christmas lights having been damaged. And last Thursday, this is outside Aqua on High Street, and last Thursday we delivered a letter to Aqua to advise that we were seeking that they meet the cost of the replacement lights, which has been quoted at £219.60. There's been no reply yet. A follow-up letter and visit will occur in the next 7 days if we have not had any reply. Secondly, further to the report last cycle, that's the survey of Christmas lights. Some small defects were identified and works totaling £2,000 will remedy these. While we were not expecting a big bill, we always expected some works may be necessary. It can be accommodated rather from the Christmas lights budget, so it's not asked as a decision from the committee as funding is there, and the survey was agreed by the committee. And thirdly, updates on the toilets. The new contractor has been in touch to talk about the Eastport toilet cleaning contract. King Street is included in the MSDC contract. We have not yet received the costs of the contract from MSDC. They're the key things. I've got things I might raise later when members have had a chance to ask questions. So they're the key principal points I wanted to raise immediately. Do committee have any comments or questions? Mrs. Merricks. Mrs. Shack, thank you.
Thank you. I'm pleased to see that the living room on the bus shelter is still in progress. It has taken some time. I see you maybe you've had a challenge with this one, and the installation has been deferred. Do we have any sort of date of how much or how long deferred time
No.
will be,
I don't know where the communication breakdown happened, but they somehow just didn't allow that. The town's just not very flat.
No,
so rather than the roof, the fact that the structure is built.
Yeah, so the structure just allow for somebody just, the living room's got to be completely horizontal, there's no sort of
Okay.
give in it, and they just didn't, I don't know what happened, but literally as they went to, it all arrived and then they went to go away again, so it was very close.
Okay, so,
But we're just waiting for the new manufacturing
Okay.
to come in, but everything comes from shipped here and it's all,
Okay.
I think they're trying to change their providers because everything is just currently very slow, so.
but it's still
We
going
are-
to proceed.
But it is definitely going to proceed, they definitely got all the approval, so,
Okay.
so yeah, definitely, just bad that it didn't quite make it to this committee, but I haven't had another update.
It's important it's right first time, so. Any other questions? Oh, Jeff, follow up.
No.
Councillor Barney.
Graffiti partnerships. I see that obviously the West Sussex part has been quite a bit of work. Me. Just kicking back. This having not been on this committee last year. Obviously the district part. Okay. What proportion of the business do you reckon we've actually got? If this is normal, the county business has gone up, a step up. Does that make much of a difference? Does it make it more, I say more viable, if you know what I mean? Is it the amount of business efficiently increased?
The work we're carrying out to do.
Yeah,
And paid to do.
yeah. And I see that they're also saying that some of the materials are, some of the graffiti is more cleaning resistant. Is that posing much of a problem for us as well?
It is, so the first part of the question is, actually, I would say about 80% of the graffiti in this town was on Mid Sussex land, so actually what we're left with is bigger graffiti issues. Whereas the Mid Sussex tends to be at play parks and it tends to be a skate park and it was smaller. So, you know, there's still plenty of graffiti, but yes, we've lost the ongoing, the bin and the signs that the play parks need cleaning. And actually, grass cutting has taken up so much time this year. The fact that we're not going to so many towns to do the graffiti in other parks has been an absolute blessing. So, you know, we can only say that's a good thing. So we're talking to new graffiti people because some of the large graffiti on walls is tough to get off. It seems very sophisticated and we're finding some of it. So we're just waiting for the next lot and then we're speaking to other graffiti providers to see if they can come out and give us, because they're saying it's not just, we've always done it on if it's brick or if it's porous material wall, but actually it seems much more scientifically challenging than that now because they can add stuff is, you know, the products have added in and make it almost impossible to get off. But yeah, so you know, ongoing challenges that we all love. But we're still getting out as fast as possible to clean it because we still don't like stuff.
And any follow-up questions on this? Councillor.
One question really, fountain. So we've got the water fountain, we noticed here we've got the first water testing for the fountain, 260, and then the Legionella risk assessment. Is the risk assessment an annual or is it a one-off? Obviously the water testing is regular, but are these annual costs? But obviously we spent more than 10% already on the first one.
So no, the risk assessment is a risk assessment, and then that will be the end of the risk assessment. The reason the water testing is expensive at the moment, so after speaking to the specialists, they said, think about just getting it tested. What you can't tell at that point is if there's a problem, what's causing the problem? Is it contamination to the tap? It's contamination, where's the contamination to why water's not meeting?
But is the testing annually or is it?
Well, at the moment, it's every few weeks because it wasn't fabulous last time. It was drinking.
Just to interrupt, this is, no offence to everyone, this is a separate item on the agenda. So don't, perhaps not stray into the next item, but
I just want to know, it's an annual, it is an annual water testing, or we have to go more frequently, and is it, it's more frequent, it's the costing, yeah, just the costing,
it's a good question, but
just the
perhaps more
costing.
relevant under the next subsequent item. Any other questions, comments? Well, what I would say is, we learned today, I believe, Mrs. Roach, issued an update about the soundproofing into Sunnyside Barn. That's good to see. I think, I know Councillor Hughes, a number of councillors have been there, that seems to be well received, a well-used unit, asset for the town. The only thing was perhaps the echo, so it was good to see that's been carried out. And also the children's play park, play equipment, that's been approved and due to be installed at some point.
Yes, thank you. And there's an update on the play equipment. We did receive a date. Unfortunately, it was slap bang in the middle of the school holidays.
Right.
Because the play park is so busy in the school holiday, the decision has been taken to defer installation till the end of the school holidays. So we're looking sort of the first week in September. I just don't think it's very viable in the middle of the school holidays to do work.
To clarify, for everyone's confused as to why, well, I propose the play park
Yeah.
to do so for a number of days and
For the transition.
if we get into the school holidays, it's fair to take it away.
Okay, any other questions from the committee or comments? Well, that item is for noting, so can I ask the committee to note that?
Noted.
Okay, moving on to item 7. Burial services. I think it's there to read. So the key thing I was zooming in is the poor weather we've had. There has been so that a visit to the cemetery, Queen's Road Cemetery, has not been possible on safety grounds, and likewise growth of grass has taken off. That's the cemetery where we spent a lot of money trying to reintroduce into use. The badgers, the badger works, is it £60,000?
Pretty much, yeah.
A lot of money over the last couple of years in hard work. However, due to the former presence of wildlife tunnels, we're struggling to get the outside surface team to get in there to strip. And those who have been there will know, councillors, it's steep, it's a bank, and it's not easy to navigate through strippers. We are mindful that it cannot be left as that, because there is the risk that badgers will return into the site, and it is an ongoing concern. So, Sarah, I'll pass it over to you, and I'm really conscious on your report, and if you want to illuminate what I've said.
Yeah, absolutely. So very much echo all of those concerns, and we don't want to lose the ground, pardon the pun, that we've already gained. The weather and commitments for staff have not been on our side. They've not coincided the way we would normally like them to. We're currently looking at getting a price for external contractors to potentially come in for 1 or 2 days, just to give us the uplift that we need to provide more of a safe working environment. And that's a challenge. If we rated the whole area, it would, in my humble opinion, it would all be an amber rating. And then you're looking at more red rated areas. It's challenging enough to walk around there when you've got nothing in your hands. When you've got 2 hands on a petrol strimmer that weighs quite a substantial amount and all the safety gear that they wear, it's really quite tricky going. So we're just mindful of juggling the balance between staff safety and ensuring that we don't undo all the work we've done.
I think it's a comment made to me by Town, but I would be minded to actually, on a one-off basis, because we're so behind with the maintenance of Queen's Road Service and the amount of money we've spent over the last 4 or 5 years, I'd be minded as a one-off to hire specific contractors with the necessary equipment, skills, experience.
Absolutely.
To have that strength. I think we should, because we run the risk of going backwards and starting from square one.
Yeah.
What do I have to propose that?
I think it should.
If we want to discuss it,
It could be outside of budget, so proposal, second and discuss, yeah.
do you want to explain this outside budget before?
Well, I think it may be, there's obviously a maintenance budget,
Yeah.
there, I'm going to first say, there's so much. No, I'll carry on jumping if you need to. There's a maintenance budget for the cemetery, which is absolutely fine and is used for ad hoc works and things that need to be done.
Yeah.
Obviously, because we do the in-house work ourselves, if we're bringing in outside contractors to do this work, it is going to put strain on that budget, which means at the end of the year, it could end up being overspent. We're so early in the year, it's very difficult to say that at this point.
Is that the Mount Roddy Cemetery budget or?
No, Queen's
For
Road.
Queen's, yeah.
Now it could be that we could use, if committee were minded, we could use the Queen's Road Cemetery specific fund, which is an earmarked reserve, because the main reason behind this is not just to get on top of the maintenance, but actually to ensure we do not take backward steps with regards to the wildlife. So in which case, if committee were minded to do that, then there's plenty in the budget and there's lots of money there.
The reason why I've asked you, I didn't want to feel as though the committee being railroaded into a decision, so I've asked you to have. I personally think we should as a one-off. I'm happy to propose that. Could I have a second?
I am.
Deputy, thank you, councillor. It's open now to comments and questions from councillors. Councillor.
I concur. I think we've spent such a long time trying to get it to this point and with the badgers and moving them and doing this and then getting it to a stage that it was so nearly there with just one rogue badger and the maintenance was being maintained. What we don't want to do is lose that and injuring staff by going in, because that then has not an effect to the other cemetery, I think other maintenance around the town that we are so it's a wanting to keep in good order, that actually having somebody that we can pay to come in, if we can put it in on budget, then absolutely, let's look at it.
I completely concur. I think we have to start with health and safety as our main priority. And you know, we do not want to hurt anybody in the workplace. And I think we have to keep an eye on the future and what we were trying to do with that cemetery. I think any of us that spent time there, you know, when it started before Harry left, and we were just getting on top of it, and it felt like the end was in sight, and it could open up and be, you know, nice, reflective outdoor space for the community. We've got to keep that focus.
Historic as well.
Yeah, absolutely, keep that focus. Absolutely.
Councillor.
It doesn't seem to have stopped.
I certainly agree over getting someone in to do it. I'm just going back to the report and the project, the long running project of this, of what the implications are for that, of what we're finding now. This presumably will be the same potentially next year, the rest of it, as to how we take the project forward and keep it in a fit state.
Yep.
Even before we open it up, try and open it up.
I obviously don't have a crystal ball, and I might be internally optimistic. I would say, for the last couple of years, we generally have managed to get in there around February, March time. Unfortunately, because, and obviously we don't know what the weather holds next year. Unfortunately, just it wasn't appropriate for us to, and we were continually going in there and assessing to see when the ground was.
Just to interrupt you, sorry, just to put into perspective, we've got a weather station at home. And in the first 5 months of this year, the previous 6 years of 5 years, we've had more rain in 5 months than in the previous 5 or 6 years for the 6 months. And we're talking about 3 or 4 inches more. So that's how wet it's been. It may not be in the same location, probably about half a mile by the crow flies, but sorry.
No, you're spot on, and that's a really significant impact. So I can't, as a one-off, I am optimistic. There does need to be long-term consideration, and there are discussions that the works wouldn't just be that around brambles and trimming. It's also looking at how we can fill disused burrows and as such, like to ensure that actually going forward it is as safe as we can make it with the amount of curb sets and headstones that are there, but make it as safe as possible for staff to be able to go in. And that may need topping up on occasion. Yeah. I don't know whether you would like
Yes.
anything.
You'd be happy with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's, the weather's had sort of two knock-on effects. Mount Noddy has also struggled.
Yeah.
They've had more, the foreman has been here for almost 25 years and he's seen grades that have never sunk. So a lot of work has been on the maintenance. So the work that we were hoping to sort of, as you say, there needs to be an ongoing maintenance in actually making the cemetery safe. But unfortunately, the weather has, first of all, we had sunny side and it just took so much longer, and we used our in-house workers to keep the budget, keep it on sort of some sort of budget that we can maintain, which put us a bit behind starting. And then the weather was having such a knock-on effect at Queen's Road that they top up and do that. It's all sort of had a little bit of and so the work that we had planned, Sarah and I were planning on sort of maintenance early in the year, just didn't start. But yes, we need we're looking at an ongoing programme that we sort of make sure areas are made safer, but it just didn't happen this year. It was just one of those. Sorry.
Any follow-up? Any questions from people? Well, that's been, sorry, back to you. Okay. Well, I think it's been proposed and seconded. I'm certainly in favour. That's all those in favour, figure your hand. It's unanimous. Okay. Right, moving on to, do we need to specifically raise draft recommendation? Is it?
For that,
Yeah.
you did that.
Okay.
Yeah, so
You took it down.
it's resolved to bring a contractor in to help with the maintenance. Because first we were trimming for the cemetery to ensure that maintenance and they will be kept up with by the accounting.
Thank you. I didn't. Yeah. Item 8, that's events. We've already touched on that in the previous. So a couple of things before we go into the detail and back to us. Obviously, there's an update on the data rest of 2024. Alison could go into that if you have any questions on that. D-Day events certainly went very well. What I can see at King George Field. East Court Live, well done again. The weather did make it, but it was very, very successful again. I think one of the best, most highest attended East Court Live, perhaps.
I don't know. It was a beautiful day. Helps.
So,
I hope it's not too inappropriate, but can I just raise Mr. Chisholm and the time he dedicated at the D-Day events? I think he did remarkably well with the small museum that he brought along with him, and the interest that generated. So I hope it's not inappropriate for me to.
no, of course it's not. We spent a great bit of time on the history, particularly the Whitehall bombing memorial last year service. And thank you. And indeed, you're quite right. I think it's well done. And thank you to all the officers, councillors, members of the public, because we did have members of the public volunteer this year, who volunteered at East Court Live and the D-Day commemorations. But I'm also moving on. We do need volunteers for July's event. Alice, could you perhaps go into more detail? Do you need dates available, times available on the day? Or?
Yes, please, if anyone's available to volunteer, please email me what times you're available. Any time is appreciated, but if I know in advance, I can add you to the schedule, and it really helps with the planning and just being able to know we've got enough people for the event to go ahead. So it's really, really appreciated to know that in advance. But it's great to see everyone at the events coming to help. So thank you very much for everyone who has attended the East Court Live and D-Day recently.
Okay. And last point from me, you'll see in the agenda the Christmas market, we've been asked for any suggestions or ideas we may have to, you know, give it
Yeah.
a twist or something new for the Christmas market.
Yeah.
So, to committee, do you have any specific questions or comments on the?
No, I think I raised my point, it's just, what already is in place is my question,
Nothing yet.
nothing.
What would people like to see? I'm envisaging food markets, stalls, kind of gifts. Do we want to keep it on London Road where it previously has been when it was the French Christmas market pre-COVID times? Do we want to move it to the high street? Is there any particular requests people are looking for?
If I may, do we have any ideas about music or potential local music groups that we could have invited to the
Do we want live music? I think it's the first question.
people?
I think it'd be lovely to have some Christmas carols and.
Yeah.
So potentially we could look into reaching out to some groups,
Mhm.
local ones, to see if they can
Choirs.
choirs.
So the first idea then is music, perhaps choirs with Christmas carols. Councillor Hughes.
Again, I think there are lots of Christmas markets planned. I think as we discussed at a previous committee, locking people down is quite key early. Do we have line of sight of Christmas markets for Tunbridge Wells, Horsham, you know, the North Southern Oaks, the normal places? Do we know we've got a clear window on that date? Would be one question. And then secondly, I just wonder, there are so many local craftspeople and small businesses, if we can galvanise them.
Yeah, most of their contacts,
I
yeah.
think they would relish the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I think last year definitely we saw some pop-ups, some small sort of craft businesses and pop-ups happening before Christmas. If we could give them space, in terms of that Christmas market, it's a boost for them.
Can we talk about London Road or High Street? I don't know if you've had any thoughts on it. The thing is, if you're going to have it, a smaller, more compact event is the High Street. So if you want to make more of an impact, I think that High Street, London Road is a little bit more rambling and it's a little bit longer, so it can look, depending on how many stores, if you're going to make it look like a really good event, London Road can be a little bit too wide and too long if it's going to be a little bit empty.
Also
So-
with the music as well.
Yes, so you tend to get that feel if you have it on the high street, if there's going to be not so many stalls or anything like that, that maybe make it feel more of an event, more of a Christmassy feel, because the high street does tend to have that more of that appeal for that time of year.
Councillor.
I think, I also wonder, so I think we saw it a little bit at East Court, and we've seen it at events, people love to get involved. I don't know if we had a theme which tied in with the history of the town, Wenceslas, or the time, and people could come as fancy dress, and there were some competitions. The kids love dressing up, another prize. I just wonder if we try and make it, you know, destination and fun and a bit of theatre with some food. We're sort of ticking all of the boxes. I know we do a lot of that at the big reveal, but I think we've got an opportunity to really max it.
The other thing, actually, sorry, we finished, yeah. The other thing, I should have, for this particular topic, I do declare that I'm a member of the Lions and Rotary. I'm just thinking maybe including either or both, particularly being Christmas within the Santa Claus, Christmas during December, maybe that's something else we could look at.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a Santa's grotto or something.
Yeah.
When do they start their rounds?
Pardon?
When do Rotary start their rounds?
It's usually the week after, I think.
That's okay, I'm just thinking
You don't want to be in the
If
middle of it.
that week, then it's gonna go.
Yeah.
What the point is there, but if they're not done, it's great.
Any other ideas? Okay, so hopefully that was of use.
Yeah, that was interesting, thank you.
So that is the voting report. Thank you very much.
Anything else you?
So I do apologise. Is there anything else you wanted to?
Do a quick marathon.
Yeah, I can do. We had the marathon debrief earlier today. So that went well. This year we were able to get onto the grass at the rugby club, although not onto the kind of the main pitch, but we were at least out in the car park. And luckily we had good weather. Numbers were kind of similar to last year, 307 runners, which was 35 down on last year. We didn't have very many spectators, and the marathon board want to look at whether to change the start finish point of the run. So they're considering that. Nothing's kind of been decided or anything yet. They're just wondering whether that would help boost the event and increase spectators. And yeah, we're going to start doing the planning and advertising earlier this year or for next year. So is their plan as well.
Any other comments on the marathon?
Can I just ask, this is a memory loss moment. Have we not talked about the marathon moving it? Because we always felt it was a little bit too far out of town to be part of East Winford. So I do think if they were disappointed, because I don't think they were too keen to move it in the past, if I'm remembering correctly. And so it's good to hear that they might realise that now actually it's going to be East Winford, and they want people more involved and to have more spectators, that maybe they do need it to be a little bit more centrally into town. So it would be good if they did do that, I think.
Okay,
I think of a different route, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we note that?
Thank you.
Moving on to item 9, which is obviously was a couple of questions to be partly answered, for example. But as an update on the loop, the plan for the loop, we have had to do a second picnic at the site, which happened today. So we are hopefully now on the scheme design to allow us to move ahead. The committee have asked to approve the tendering of the retaining wall repairs once the scheme is approved for viability. Although no work can be undertaken until the land has been transferred to the council, time-wise this is expected to be contracted and let before the end of the year, along with the transfer of the land. In truth, the letting is likely it will be next year. Start to do work. And just to repeat, this is an ongoing project, and well done to the town party officers, committee chairman, leaders over the years driving us towards the hopefully to a successful conclusion. Are there, before I propose the recommendation of the report, are there any questions in general on St Margaret's Loop, or if the town park thinks I can propose anything else for a second on them? Any general questions about the Loop first? No, I propose the recommendation, which is on the page 12. 13. Yeah. The committee are therefore asked to approve the tendering of the repairs to the retaining wall once the project is approved. Have a second. Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Are there any questions on that specific project recommendation? No? Okay. All those in favour? Thank you very much.
Just in case anyone's wondering why we've asked for that to come around before you've seen before you actually seen the scheme. It's the tendering process can take some time. So the idea is that being as we now know a rough idea of the cost of the wall, we can, as soon as we've got that the information coming back and we're starting to get that round, so that we can either have a special meeting or to in September, we can actually start the tendering process, because that can take a while, and then we've got that bit done. So once we have approved the scheme, once we have approved the scheme, transferred the land, then we'll actually be able to start work with that tender, if we can, rather with the work on the retaining wall, if we can, as the chairman just said, with the weather being what it is, it's likely to be next year now, but at least the tender will have been let, so that's the idea, that we don't have to let it until, we're certainly not going to let it until you've approved you want to carry on with the scheme, it's just about starting the process, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So did we vote on?
We did.
Yeah, we did. Okay, so, okay, moving on to item 10. That's a Queen Victoria sort of Jubilee drinking fountain. That obviously was opened last month. And as an update on the ongoing running of the fountain, this is just a noting. We will continue to report the amount of money that this costs in cleaning and sterilisation going forward, and will advise when Mid Sussex pay the agreed funds over to us. I think, Mrs. Ryan, you had a question previously.
It was just, you know, how much is it costing from the report of the cost? Whether that was annually or whether that was more than, you know, more than once a year. Just thinking how far our dowry of £5,000 is going to go.
That's the question.
The report, it's obviously not sure yet where the problem is coming from. So, if the issue is in the water supply to the fountain, is that something that it's because it was done before implies something wasn't done right, or is it something that is just one of those things?
The second part.
Yeah.
I think the problem at the moment, so we have the testing won't be that as expensive either. We will literally just have the water tested about. At the moment, what we did was we had it tested, then I ran it, cleaned the taps and tested again. So we're effectively doubling the tests at the moment to sort of just to be sure that we can work out the root of the contamination. And it wasn't worse, although it wasn't quite as good as they'd hoped. You know, and we haven't shown it, it's not undrinkable, it's just not in the parameters that we'd have, you know, perfect like to think. We think it's through lack of use. So at the moment, we in-house are going, so the outdoor services are going out sort of 3 times a week and running the and we're cleaning it every couple of days as well, just to keep, and we're just about to have it tested again. So what we're trying to see, we're hoping this will prove that it was just literally where the connection was made, it step by, and the use. And we're carrying on keeping meter readings going as well to get an idea of what usage there is, just so we can start to get a clearer picture on how often we need to go out and do all these. Well, I think as the weather gets better, people get used. And a lot of the issues we're having at the moment is that people don't quite understand it is still a working fountain. And I think at some point when the weather improves and I'm sure the water's perfect, that we sort of help promote that it's sort of in use. And the nice weather will make it be used more. At the moment, we're just in that sort of terrible interim stuff. So we're having more tests than we would do. We will go to every 3 months. Quarterly or even 6 monthly once we get a good picture of where we are. At the moment, we are still in a suck it and see and make sure that we are following all the rules beautifully. We just don't want to fall foul of any of them. Water is a very complicated.
You have to make sure it's flushed through regularly, don't you? And if it's not being used, we've got to make sure it's flushed through, which is obviously what the team.
I mean, it's currently sort of almost called a little used outlet to us where we have the rest of the building. You know, we have old taps that we have to flush semi-regularly because they're called little used outlets, and they could be from anything from an outside tap that's obviously not is used in the summer, but in the winter is not used. So we do try and keep all of them. And at the moment, we're sort of in that stage, but hopefully, of course, that should turn into every other tap and be busy. So.
Can I ask, unless committee, can I ask a question? What, it may be silly, but what is the sterilisation process that is undertaken? Is it?
Yeah, so we have this cleaning solution. that goes in the tap and around the tap, so that's all we're doing, we're doing external.
So doesn't go to the supply, so it doesn't go to the supply.
No, we're not doing anything like that. Once the water comes, we get a good picture and the risk assessment said something else might have to happen. I don't know, as I said, water is much more complicated than
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, it's fine, it's not terrible, but you know, I just need to make sure that I'm looking after the water properly, but yes, so at the moment it's external, we just need to make sure that tap is kept, taps are kept clean.
And just to clarify, Chairman, the water is drinkable.
Yes.
It is not undrinkable.
Yeah.
It's just that the levels aren't where we would expect them to be with regards to normal drinkable water, but it is drinkable, it's safe, it's fine to drink. But we're just hoping that will improve so that the levels are more as expected. But we've had quite a conversation about what's going on. We're taking
Yes. So are there any other questions or comments from committee? Well, that, if there's not, that is for noting that item, so can we note that, please?
Noted.
Thank you very much. Moving to the last item on the agenda, and I'll give a brief introduction to this, and then I'll ask the town for fairness and balance to the details. Basically, as you can see from the report, for good reason, the bench on Dunnings Road, Commission Road was removed, fair enough. Some residents approached me a couple of weeks ago, maybe 5, 6, 7 weeks ago, about they would like a seat reintroducing, not necessarily a bench, but a seat, because one or two of them are finding it difficult to walk into town and they found it useful to have a rest. Suffice to say, some of them are more aged than some of them in here. So I said, well, okay, could you email me, explain what you're after, and I'll liaise with the town clerk. An email was sent to about 8 local residents, 8 till 9, and I had a chat with the town clerk. She said she put it on the agenda, and it was felt that a single seat would be better, not a bench, because if we put a bench back in, we run the risk of going back to where we were a couple of years ago. Obviously, it doesn't seem suitable to be by the bus stop, because that's where the original bench was, it's being removed. And I communicated, well, potentially one seat, somewhere perhaps outside the post office. There are 1 or 2 other locations we could suggest, but that's the background. But the balance of fairness, the transparency, did you want to add anything apart to what I've said?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it, Chair. The concerns are that if we put, because the bus stop is not well used, so there's no point putting back the bus stop itself. And if you did, it would be right in front of the house, the resident who complained about being intimidated and the rubbish in the garden and everything else. So I think that would be inappropriate. We've been the estates team have been talking to the post office owner about citing a bin on that forecourt. It's a very well used forecourt, and I just don't think that they're going to never ask. We don't think they're going to agree to a seat going on there either. So if you want to put a seat back, we've just got to work out where. And then the question of, is it big enough for a 2-seat bench? Should it be a 1-seat? What do you want, or do you wish to say actually it doesn't seem likely that we're going to be able to get something in there, and whilst we're sympathetic, we can't do anything. So it really is over to committee. What do you want to do? As officers, we have sort of hit a bit of a brick wall as to how we're going to resolve this. That's not anything more. And she was dealt with the and all of the original correspondence.
I don't know if you've walked up the road, it does have some, it is tricky because it's not a very wide pavement. I mean, it's sort of a 1-person pavement in place. As you say, the only area we had a bus stop, we took the bus stop away and replaced it with a bench, and then following sort of complaint, took the bench away and this committee had already decided on that. As the town clerk said, we are trying to speak with the shop owner, but they actually own the area in front of the shop. It's not public owned, it's privately owned. He uses it to sort of pull up and take deliveries, and yes, we're trying to just get a bin near the post box, which is not, because the residents asked for that as well. That's turning out to be much trickier than we'd hoped. And we might, because again, we're basically on private land and it's not West Sussex land. I went up the road and didn't personally find an area that I went, oh, and that'd be useful, until you get right near the top and you're on.
Yeah, well, I did have a look and I thought there are the junction of Mill Way.
Yeah,
That's not too far away, or potentially Hurst Farm Road.
yeah, so
Those two junctions, because there are the grass verges where it could sit. I mean, personally, I think it's down to the committee to discuss it. So I think we should allow the officers to go away and investigate if it is possible. That would be my view. What do committee members think? Councillor Hughes.
So I agree, I think there was logic to the decision that was made and we shouldn't unpick that. Because I think we spent a long time considering. But yeah, I'm not elderly, but yeah, I struggle to walk up that road with bags. I think if we can find, I call it a resting point, not a meeting point. And we can find a place for that, then it feels like there is definitely a need.
I want to see.
Yes, I was thinking just a resting point, and I wondered whether, you know, we need to start being a little bit more creative. We always think about citing something freestanding, but if I look at bus stops, you know, the fold down, just little resting seats. There's a lot of walled area along there. I know a lot of it is private. But we've got a lot of elderly residents also probably living along there. You can have fold down seats. So I don't know, I just thought that I'm not surprised we've had 8 emails. I bet there is a greater need. And if we can find a solution for a resting point that doesn't become a meeting point with all of the issues that we had before, it would be worth exploring.
I sort of concur with you. I feel a little bit conflicted because obviously I was the chair of the committee when the bench went, and I agree absolutely that it was absolutely right. It was actually causing more issues.
There's no criticism by the way.
No, I know, but I remember, and we've also, I mean, I wasn't particularly, I'm denied about this, in favour of it. However, we have put in a community building down that road, and I feel that if we want people to use that and walk, and we're all talking about using our bikes more and walking more and everything like that, and a resting point, certainly somewhere like Mill Lane, not Mill Lane, Mill Close, is it Mill Lane? That is a little bit wider, it has got a bigger corner, and a resting point is definitely something rather than a bench or a seat, something that they can literally rest. They just need to rest, they just need to stop, catch their breath and move on, and that encourages that walking. And I think if people are wanting to walk up that hill and down that hill, and it's more beneficial to their health to walk than catch a bus or drive their car, then actually a little resting point halfway, if we can find the right solution, I think would be a good thing.
Thank you. Any other comments from the committee? So, I think I would be minded to propose that officers are asked to go away and investigate a resting point somewhere between Coronation Road up to, what do we think, Hurst Farm Road? Or Hurst Farm Road.
I mean, I have to say, I think that's the right place for it, but there isn't anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that.
I think it's needed. I think it's needed to get towards Hurst Farm Road rather than the docks. So ideally it would be from Coronation Road going up to Hurst Farm Road. So is that something the committee are happy with the wording? Or officers asked to go away and investigate the resting point Coronation Road up to Hurst Farm. That's a reasonable town park.
Absolutely.
Well, I propose that. Second, thank you, councillor Gill. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Okay, so that is the last item on the agenda. Just remains for me to say the next full meeting of the committee will be on Thursday, the 19th of September, I believe. And the time is now. It's just 8 o'clock. So thank you for attending.